Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, so a lot on the line. The runner-up today gets $250 for third place. We also have a big amount in our bonus ball contest as well. We're up to $150 this week, so we've got lots to attend to, and we will get this match started between Don Richmond and Tom Morgan right after these messages. I know you won't go away. Come right back. These are the 5 bowlers that qualified for this last series on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Jim Grigatis won the first week, beating Rich Hallberg, but then Jim was eliminated last week by Tom Morgan. So Tom goes for his second win in a row today against Don Richmond, our number 2 seed. The winner of this one gets George McAllister next week for the final spot in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. So Tom Morgan to start the match, and a rowdy, raucous crowd ready to watch.
Yeah, it is.
Tom with a 4.04 a week ago. A match in which he threw 17 marks, 15 of them were spares, but perhaps the biggest mark of all was a strike in the 8th box of the 3rd game. It really helped him take command.
And he opens with a 9 box.
Oh,
wow. You gotta slow this one way down. Oh. Very nicely done by Tom Morgan.
Well, as you mentioned, Dan, this guy no stranger to bowling fans. It's his first appearance with us here on Stars and Strikes, although he has been on the Skins show on Saturday earlier this year. Don Richmond looking for his first mark. He'll be open in the first frame as well. And he'll take a 10. Don is from Holbrook, Massachusetts. He and his wife Debbie have a son, DJ. Don works as a test technician. We have a definite south of Boston flavor to this particular series. Jim Grigatis from Brockton, Rich Hallberg from Quincy, and now Don Richmond from Holbrook.
Gotta hurry.
Missing the single.
A little short approach, very small steps approaching the pins. Pretty accomplished at what he does, though. As I said 2 weeks ago, he was in the roll-off and was in a clump of 5 or 6 or 7 bowlers, very close, and needed 163 to take over the top spot. Going to last game, he had 99 plus a ball at the half. Came up a little short, but he could throw 160 to get him into that second place spot.
Almost for Tom. He'll take a 9 on his strike, and in the early lead by 8. Tom Morgan from Revere, Mass. Tom and his wife Linda have 2 children, Jamie and Kelly. And Tom works at General Electric in Lynn as a processor.
What do they process there?
Electrical things, I guess.
Maybe. How about light bulbs? Do they have any light bulbs down there? I could tell you a story about this guy.
Yeah?
Yeah. I forgot all about it. I'd tell it now because he just lit up like a light bulb.
Well,
he was bowling at my place in the roll-off. Filled. We're moving right along. Tommy's got in the 8th box. I hear smash. He hits a piece of wood in the gutter. Ball goes up, takes out one of the pit lights. I had to stop the entire shift and wait till I cleaned it up. So he kind of owes me a light bulb or 2. I'll talk to him about that later. Spare for Don.
Doesn't miss the second single. off the head pin, he'll carry 6 on the fill.
1, 3, 6, and 7 pins left. No wood. At least no wood on the playing surface.
And an 8.
And 44 through 4. 2-pin advantage for Tom Morgan.
It's interesting always to watch the various bowlers and their individual quirks and habits when they come on the show. And some bowlers, we do see them from time to time who, when they are not bowling, they don't like to watch their opponent. In fact, they'll go out of their way almost to not watch. They may check the scoreboard after or whatever, but they won't actually watch the opponent bowl while he's bowling. Tom Morgan is the opposite. He's one of the few bowlers, in fact, the only one that I can think of, who goes back into the bowler's seating area and actually changes his seat in each box so that he can get a better look at the pins when his opponent is up there watching. So every time when you see Tom sitting down, you'll see him sitting on one side for one box, and then he'll change his seat and move to another seat for the other box.
Keeps walking in front of me, too. I got to talk to him about that.
He's just causing a lot of commotion for you, isn't he? He's breaking lights and moving his seat around. And
it's a real pain sometimes. I have a lot of fun with both Tommy and his brother Mike. 64 for Tom through 6.
Richmond to shoot at the 2, 4, and 6. A reminder that when you visit Park Place Lanes, where we tape Candlepin Stars and Strikes here in Windham, New Hampshire, right on Route 28, very easy to find off exit 3 on Route 93. Whether you're here for bowling on your own or to watch us as we tape Candlepin Stars and Strikes, you'll want to make it a point to have a bite to eat, breakfast, lunch, or dinner at the Willow Tree North restaurant, located right inside Park Place Lanes. Willow Tree North, operated by Rodney Cronin and his fine staff. Great service, great food, great prices, and most importantly, it's where the crew eats.
And eats and eats and eats.
Yeah.
Well, both bowlers only have one mark to show. Tom the strike and Don the spare. Tom's got a shot at another mark here with the 10-pin. No.
No. Another missed single. We've got a couple here in the early going. 10 bucks for Tom Morgan. Oh, big strike. Wouldn't you know, after missing the single. Tom doesn't have any spares yet, but he's got 2 strikes now.
I always say it's almost automatic. You miss an easy spare, you're bound to come back with 8, 9, or a strike. Just to make you really feel bad about missing the spare before. Don, another tough shot. The 2, 4, 6, and 10. Piece of wood in front of the 6, 10. Try to split the 2 and the 4.
It's a 9 box.
2-pin advantage now for Tom Morgan.
again. Another split.
This time with the angle of the wood, he may have a shot. Just got to worry about the ball flying up over the 7-pin, but he's going to play the wood for the 3 and 6. The ball should take the 10.
Yes.
So he puts a mark up in the 8th as well. You see the ball just carrying right off the wood into the 7-pin.
2 spares for Don Richmond, 2 strikes for Tom Morgan, and Tom to fill his strike right now. Just slid by the head pin. Very narrow miss.
4 horsemen right. 1, 3, 6, and 10.
Yes.
Spare on strike.
Of the 5 bowlers who've already qualified for the Tournament of Champions, 3 of them were #1 seeds. The other 2 were #2 seeds. So Tom Morgan is trying to defy the odds here and become our first #3 seed to gain the tournament. But in order to do that, he's got to win this week and then again next week. And Tom will take a 9 and a 119 for his opening game. Don Richmond, Big Phil, drops 9.
The kingpin, the 5, all by itself. He dropped that one. You could almost hear it. At least that one, actually on this side of the foul line.
And the 10. So Don will need a mark to pull even here. Candlepin Stars and Strikes brought to you in part by Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. Come to Salem and save. Route 97, Salem, New Hampshire. Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. Oh, great try. There's a leave you don't see very often, the 6-8. And it's still there. An 8-box, 109 for Don Richmond, a 10-pin lead after 1 game for Tom Morgan, but still 2 more to go, and details on our bonus ball contest when we come back to Park Place Lanes after this timeout. $150 in our bonus ball contest at the end of the hour, as well as a couple of brand new sets of bowling balls from Paramount Industries, Bob Perella, and our friends down there at Paramount. But you can't win if we don't have your postcards, so please send them in, regular size only, to Park Place Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087. And be sure to include on those postcards your name, your full address, and the number from 1 to 10 that you think will be hit by our winning bowler with the bonus ball at the end of the hour.
Don Richmond will get us started the second game.
With, oh my.
Did that 10-pin go? There it
does,
goes.
yes. Had them both rocking. Well, Don's probably thinking about this a little bit. Oh, that's 3 now that he's missed. 3 singles. And of course, as always happens, he's converted all 3 of them for 10s. And there's that big hit you were talking about, although this is a split, the 5-7.
It's not going to be a split, though. I think that wood's going to roll back right against the 5-pin, and he's going to have a shot at making the 5 and 7.
Seems to be lined up pretty well. There it is.
Half was to right for Tom Morgan. 3 and 9 pins are gone.
The 8th annual Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions begins 2 weeks from today, Sunday, April the 21st, here on the Winds of New England. Sunday the 21st at 12 noon, our first of 5 weeks in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. It's always a lot of fun. We hope you can make plans to be with us or roll those VCRs, whatever you have to do. Make sure you see those programs. Culmination of another season here on Stars and Strikes.
Tom's looking at the 4 and 8 pins.
No.
Now he caught a piece of the wood which deflected the ball instead of ball driving through for the 8. Caused him to, well, got the 10. Caused him to miss that 8 pin because of the wood. 19 after 2. Don Richmond gained 1 in count. So if he were to drop 9 in the spare, it would be even.
Off target, though. He'll take 7.
1, 8, and 10. 4 pieces of wood between the 1 and the 8, which should help on the 10. Got it.
Yep. Not a bad break for missing the head pin on the first ball.
Bowlers of this caliber, they don't need breaks like that. If they get breaks like that, they'll hit big scores. They make a mistake and get a break, they'll cash in. Don a little bit behind himself there, left it to the right, but another nice break off the head pin. Just the 1 and the 2 left, and it looks like the wood should cover both the head pin and the 2. He's going to make sure he's right on the head pin. 3 in a row.
Don with a big smile as he comes back after that ball. Tom Morgan trying to break it up. Cannot kick out the 7 pin.
Yeah, 3, 6, and 7. Let's see, the wood's coming back. Let's see if the wood will turn a little bit for him, give him an angle on the 7. No, it's not going to happen. So give the lead to Don Richmond now. $17 in the game, as you can see, 7 overall.
Again, can't kick out the extra pin. And
leaves just the 7.
$10 for Tom Morgan, and that brings us to a timeout. 3 marks in a row for Don Richmond. He has taken the lead away from Tom Morgan here in game 2. We'll be back to Park Place in a minute. Don Richmond working on a spare, his 3rd in a row.
And he missed a single in that first box, so there could have been easily 4 in a row.
Oh, and there's the strike. His first strike of the match.
See, his release point now is further out in the lane. Those last couple balls didn't even hear the ball hit the lane. That one he dropped a little bit, but got a good follow through, and
watch out. Ooh.
The 8 and the 9.
Not quite enough hit on the 9 pin. Well, maybe the left edge or the front wood. What do you think?
Actually, I think the right up top.
Like that. There you go. 5 marks in a row.
Okay, Tom, right now.
Tommy really pushing that ball right now. It doesn't seem to be coming out as fluently as it has been. Timing just a little off. He's the head pin in the 4, 7, 8, and 9.
At the end of last week's show, Dan, Tom Morgan made reference to his brother Mike, who made a little suggestion to him in the middle of last week's match, and Tom said it helped him get himself straightened out in time to come back and win the match. Well, during that last break, Mike came over and had a few words for his brother, so we'll have to see if it has the desired effect here. Tom is looking for his first mark here in the second game. There's the ball he wanted, and that'll be a strike. Apparently it just took one box for him to straighten it out, and Mike said, why don't you just throw that strike ball, Tom? That'd
Yeah.
be a good idea.
Forget about shooting spares. Here's the man with a streak right now. 5 marks in a row. 3 spares, strike, and then another spare.
No head pin this time.
Oh, wait a minute. Not a bad leave, though. He's got the 1, 9, and 10, but look at the piece of wood.
We've seen this leave before today.
It should sweep toward the 10 pin.
Yep.
And the 9. 6 in a row. Worried there it wasn't going to come off the wall for the 9 pin, but it did.
Back in the pocket and kicks 9 out. Watch out for the wood. Looks like it will stay out of the way. But here's another single pin. Oh, right on this one. Knew as soon as it left his hand that time that it was going to be okay. Well, Don Richmond in that first box left a single pin for a spare. Since then, 7 marks in a row.
And usually the 10 pin is not the easiest single for a right-hander to hit. He was right on that one. Tom Morgan working on a strike. Trying to weather the storm here. Down by 34 now. He'll gain a few of those back, filling this strike.
Oh, yes. Big spare right there. Converting the diamond with the help of the wood. Watch the wood on the right, how it kind of holds everything together here. It's only the second spare for Tom Morgan. Looking for the big fill, gets it. And he's got a frozen piece of wood. Well, it was frozen, now it isn't, on the 2-pin.
Dropped that one.
Nope, had to hit it. The wood was not frozen anyway. So that's a costly miss with Don Richmond putting all these marks together. He leads by 24 plus this ball. Oh, maybe.
Another 9-pin drop. This time the 4-pin. And he has to be careful of the piece of wood now out in front, angled away. Could come off this left sidewall into the pin. Probably going to drive the ball through.
Oh my! Oh, and it's still there. Wow. Well, no fault of Don's on that single pin miss.
Tough piece of wood.
Let's check this out now. Once,
See, actually hit the piece of wood in the gutter,
twice,
the second piece, and
3
that's
times.
what caused the wood not come out and get the 4-pin. And as you saw, the ball did some overtime work there. So it's going to be 2 open frames for Tom Morgan to work on.
Oh, you don't think there's any way he can make this?
Well,
You giving up on it, are you?
yeah. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, I knew the odds
sure
were
Don's
with
going
you,
to
but-
remind me. I've made that shot before, Dan.
A 10, a 159 for Don Richmond. Nice recovery after a 109 opener. So an opportunity for Tom here with 2 open boxes. And he seems to have found the range all of a sudden. He's gone strike, spare, 9-drop, strike. Unfortunately, he missed the 9-drop for a spare last time, but
Didn't look like he was going to even get the 4-pin. It was a solid 9-pin drop. Piece of wood came flying back. I'm sure he's thinking 2 strikes.
kicks the 10-pin out, and the wood will be there. Not in the greatest of angles, but
That's a real difficult position because he's had a real good chance of making the the 2 and the 7, but leaving the 5.
Oh,
just enough. Spare on strike.
Well, Big Phil here, he could cut the deficit to under 15, put himself within striking range for the third game. No, not what he wanted. A leave of 5, but 132 after a 48 top half for Tom Morgan. So he stays right in this thing. He's down by 17 after 2. Third and final game coming up at Park Place. Of the 5 gentlemen who have already qualified for the 1996 Tournament of Champions, we have one former champion, the 1994 titleist, Joe Ashline, will be back for his 4th appearance in the Tournament of Champions. Tim Lipke and Dan Broder will each be making their 2nd appearance in the tournament. And first-timers, Bob Kelly and Rich Clark. So we're looking for qualifier number 6. It will either be one of these 2 guys or George McAllister. And if it's George or Don, they'll be making their first appearance in the tournament. Tom has been there 3 times before.
1-2-7-10. Down by 17. Needs a little offense early here. Oh, wow. Oh, he threw his hands up. He thought, how did that possibly happen? Without getting either one of the 7 or the 10.
Let's see how.
That's what happens to the ball. Yep. Ball goes around the 7 and the pin go around the 10.
Four Horsemen. He's made this once already.
It's always nice to see a piece of wood in there too. Between the 4 and 7. Oh, he missed the head pin.
Couple of 9s. Opens the door for Don Richmond.
These are the type of shots he had the entire first game. 2-and-1 splits. But he found the range that second game. Oh, he's got a shot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Great shot right there for Don Richmond. A pure old-fashioned cut shot. That's mark number 10 for Don.
It's always nice to start with. Those are the ones that you don't expect to get. You want all the legitimate ones and then make a couple of those. Or a couple of these. It's a little more difficult, though.
Gave it a scare.
Yeah, another cut shot.
And a nice out for Tim. He had 7 more to his lead, so it's now 24. And Tom Morgan gets a huge break off that ball that really got away from him to the left. Not a bad leave after that ball.
Not at all. 6-9-10, and a couple pieces of wood out in front. Oh!
Oh, no.
Oh. How did the 10 pin stay up?
Well, I think there might have been 3 pieces of wood
Was there a
right in
third
front.
piece?
Yeah, and maybe the 3rd piece in the back deflected everything away. Let's see. Yep.
Yeah, there was a 3rd piece. Oh, that first piece just spun around in the same spot and then finally hit the wall in front of the 10 pin and never hit it at all. Oh yeah, always happens, right? This is getting to the point where he's got to put something up. At least give Don something to think about, and that's missing to the right.
And it's still there. A 9 box. The damage for Don Richmond today. Doesn't break up the split.
He's got a 24-pin advantage, but I think he's going to have to withstand one more charge by Tommy Morgan, so he's going to need a few more marks up there.
Takes a 9. And he'll now be opposite a 9 box here in the 4th.
Oh, beautiful ball.
Oh,
beautiful ball. And beautiful result.
It looked like he might have a very bad leave after that ball when it first went down there. Let's take another look. Looked like he might have, what, 8, 9, 10 right there, and then all of a sudden it all collapsed. Don Richmond in the lead. 6 boxes to go here on Stars and Strikes. Well, Tom Morgan needs to do some damage pretty quickly.
6 frames remaining.
Spare leave on the 6 and 10. And he's got it. This is the first time today now that Tom has as many spares as strikes. 4 of each.
Not really what he wanted. Missing that head pin. 4 horsemen plus the 9. Only a 5 fill on the spare.
Nine box. So only 24 pins in the 2 boxes. And Don Richmond working on a very important strike. Right through the center.
So just 6 on his strike.
This thing is far from over. Still just a 24-pin difference. But Don could go a long way toward solidifying his case here with a mark here in the 6th. Oh, big strike.
It's 2 in a row on lane 31. Six pin, last one to go on this strike.
That really means Tom needs strikes. Because the lead will probably be up over 30. A 10. Don't forget, next weekend, Saturday at noon, Candlepin Skins from the Londonderry Bowling Center, and Sunday at noon, we're back here at Park Place Lanes for our championship match. First-timer George McAllister against the winner of this one. And there's a spare for Tom. That'll give him something to build on as he goes toward the last 2 frames. But he's really got to hope that Don Richmond goes open twice here. Don is already working on a strike. No. Don got what he wanted there, really, which was the big fill on the strike.
He would like to get the spare, but did a lot of damage, pushed the lead over 30 pins now, 34. Opposite of spare by Tom.
Through the middle again. So the door is maybe just a crack open for Tom Morgan, but he needs strikes. He was throwing them earlier in the match. He has 4 strikes already. Not this time. And not even a spare leave. Eight. With 1 box remaining. Just never really happened for Tom today.
No, just couldn't sustain any kind of offense. Get a mark, 2, but didn't have the big streak, as did Don Richmond in that second game. 7 marks in a row.
A 9 for Tom. He will finish up his day's work with a 3.55, and Don Richmond is already in the clubhouse as the winner on this week's show. So it'll be Don Richmond against George McAllister next week for the final spot in the Tournament of Champions, which means that we will have yet another first-timer in the tournament. Whoever wins next week, Don or George, will be making their first Tournament of Champions appearance, joining Bob Kelly and Rich Clark as first-timers in this year's event.
Gives him 107 through 9. 377. 375.
Not much to shoot at now for Don, but it doesn't really matter at this point. The final score that really counts is the one next week. Now that this match is safely in his column, Tom Morgan will take home 3rd place prize money of $250. A 116 for Don Richmond, 384. And that is enough to beat Tom Morgan to advance to next week's finals. We'll talk with the bowlers and have our bonus ball contest worth $150 when we come back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Park Place Lanes. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. Our semifinal match now in the record books. And Tom Morgan just, we've talked about this a number of times, Dan. It seems that when a bowler starts off throwing strikes and not as many spares, in other words, more strikes than spares, as Tom did today, it often leads to trouble, and I think it did today.
Well, it did. I didn't think either one of them could hit a single pin for a spare there for a while, but you just have those days, and he just got off to a bad start and just tried everything in his power to get back on track, and then in the meantime, Donnie Richmond throws 7 marks in a row, and it's tough to recover after that. That
run really was what did it. Sometimes you can look at one particular point in the match, and that was really it, those 7 marks in a row.
That's right, and then Tom missed a single and then came back with a strike, I believe, and could have had 3 marks in a row and put a little closer than 15 or 17 after 2, but he just wasn't on top of his game today.
All right, well, we do have a check to present first for our 3rd place finisher. A round of applause for Tom Morgan. Congratulations, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Not the score you wanted, but we have the 3rd place check for you for $250. Now I have to ask, you talked about at the end of last week's show how Mike gave you a little tip that helped you turn it around last week. Now I noticed he did talk to you during the middle of today's show. Either the tip didn't work, or he told you.
It was bad coaching. Bad coaching. If I didn't listen to him, I would have won. Screwed me all up. I thought I was going pretty good. I just threw the lazy ball the whole match. I just couldn't get anything going. I was real lazy, and Donnie had that big run the second string. I actually weathered the storm by finishing with a couple. 17, you got to start the third string with stumped. You can't go 0 for 4 down 17. So the match was over then. He threw 2 marks, and I'm on my way home like usual, a little early.
Well, you've been in the Tournament of Champions several times, so you know what it's like. Either Don or George McAllister will get there. It's always a lot of fun. It's shaping up to be an interesting field. Unfortunately for you, this time around you won't be there, but you've been there in the past.
Well, you're going to get a good participant out of this one of these 2 guys. The scores are rather low this year, too. You're talking at a 410 high, as of a lot of the times in the 440s. So one of these guys can get hot and actually go to the number 1 seed. That's not bad. Finishing the year, go number 1, sit back with 1,500 or 750. Well, we'll see what happens. Good luck to them.
And good luck to you in the offseason. It's always good to see you.
Thanks a lot. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Tom Morgan, congratulations. Tom, our 3rd place finisher in this series. And now we get Don Richmond, who's going to try and get us a match and our winner in our bonus ball contest. We're at $150 this week. So Don, in his first time with us in singles competition, throws a 7. Let's see if it is a lucky 7 for some viewer. We turn it over, and we have a winner. M.H. Waite. Just the initials on the card. M.H. Waite from Wilmot Flat, New Hampshire. Guessed a 7 and wins $150, a set of brand new bowling balls from Paramount Industries, and Mr. Richmond has a brand new set of bowling balls too. Step right in here, Don, and congratulations. We were talking earlier about just the one big run sometimes can do it, and that one run you had in the second game really locked it up for you.
Yes, and they were bookended by a couple of singles misses. But I got a couple of good breaks up some quarters there, made the shots, and then I threw a couple of good balls in there to get the shots to shoot at. And when you do something like that, it feels good. But, you know, at any time he could break out too, and I was looking for that. And at times I guess I got caught up in pressing as well. But all in all, I guess it was a pretty good match, you know, and just knowing and the anticipation, I guess, Tommy being here so often and everything, and his reputation.
And now you got to have another pretty good match. Finals next week against George McAllister.
Oh, I'm sure. You know, he's number 1 seed and everything, and well, anytime, especially just coming off the roll-off and everything, we're both hot, and maybe we'll both stay hot, and it should be a good match. But we were looking for a good match here. It wasn't too disappointing, especially to the home audience.
Well, we're looking forward for another good one next week. We will see you in the finals next Sunday.
All right.
All right. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Don. Don Richmond with the win today as he throws a 384 to knock off Tom Morgan with a 355. We also have a big winner in our bonus ball contest of $150, so we'll be emptying out our big barrel and start with a brand new set of cards next week. But, Dan, we have a little time here, so let's look at, first of all, the 5 guys that qualified for this series here on Stars and Strikes. We are left again, as it seems we have all year. In fact, every match this year in the finals has been the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed. We have all 1 and 2 seeds in the Tournament of Champions this year, and it's going to hold that way for this series as well.
Well, it's usually that's the way they are. They're the hot bowler at the time, and Don just mentioned on that they're coming off the roll-off. They hit 689, 692, so they're on top of their game right now, and sometimes it carries right over into the show.
So either George McAllister or Don Richmond from the top of that list you just saw are going to join this list. The Tournament of Champions qualifiers, 5 guys already in, and as Tom Morgan pointed out a moment ago, 410 is the top seed right now in the Tournament of Champions, Bob Kelly. What he knows is that he can finish no worse than 2nd seed, but of course there's always the opportunity that whoever wins the match next week could, as Tom mentioned, get into that number 1 spot.
That's right. So as the match progresses next week, they're going to be watching the scores, and as soon as they know that one bowler is kind of locked, then they start looking at the score and where they're going to be seated.
We're looking forward to next weekend. We hope you will join us here on the Winds of New England, Saturday at 12 noon for Candlepin Skins, Sunday at 12 noon back here at Park Place Lanes for our championship match between Don Richmond and George McAllister. Until next weekend, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, I'm Doug Brown. Thanks for joining us, and have a great week, everybody.